Here's the Schubert A major duo for violin and piano, fourth movement, Allegro vivace. Chords. I do like the shift suggested by the editor, 1, 3, and 3, 1, followed by 2. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum. So, be careful. Any scale that has that many hybrid elements, in other words, it's largely chromatic, but it isn't. And it turns A major. So, their fingering, of course, you're looking over my shoulder. 4, 3, 2, 1. G sharp is ideal. So think G sharp. That's what it takes. Sharps. We all know about hand separate work. It's a question of making an impression, because the pattern reaches up and moves back down, reaches up and this one goes back and forth. So this goes in a scalar fashion. So once it makes sense to me, it's better than that the understanding lie on the page or reside on the page alone. Makes it much different. Suggest 2. Gets me to turn as I want. Well, I am playing the melody. He doesn't want me to exaggerate those octaves. getting it in early enough. Make it elegant. it. I disagree with this editor a lot in this case. I agreed with tossing to the thumb here, but he's not doing it for the left hand for some reason. That's very bizarre. In this case, I'm not even going to do that. 1, 2, 1. Said these are the kinds of things, they're very small decisions but very important. It's the kind of thing that would sucker a first time player of Schubert of this piece into discomfort, into making decisions that make this whole thing feel really unpianistic. And I think Schubert sometimes gets a bad rap in that regard. He's not wonderfully pianistic. He wasn't a great pianist or anything, just a wonderful musician. So he makes demands that sometimes feel awkward, but I think it's so easy to find comfortable sensations, trustworthy solutions here. Much more so sometimes than here. Sometimes I'm really impressed with this particular editor because some of the solutions seem consistent and they make a lot of sense. Sometimes, as in this passage, I don't think there's even a consistency in the fingering philosophy. So you have to be prepared to judge on the basis of whether you learn it quickly, whether there's resistance. When I feel that my body or my mind have resistance to what I'm seeing and trying to learn, I always search for a reason. Is there something about the way in which the material is presented, whether it be the way it's scored or the way there's a suggested fingering or grouping or whatever, that makes it essentially more complicated than it needs to be. So its moments, that's going to be a learnable fingering because I got through it with a much stronger sense of identity of what the various chords were, how the hands interacted with one another. So that's a very good sign for me. So let's do it again. That wasn't so good. I needn't have hit so hard. Whoop, dum. Okay, I'm just going to take the time. Fourth finger on C sharps this time. And it just plain works. If you do it, it works. If you don't do it, it probably doesn't work. Some fingerings are practically essential. Others are arbitrary. The pattern is the same. I didn't follow that fingering. This works very well to maintain the right hand position. Grace notes that I call the tyranny of the ornament, that because composers write these little notes that have no ascribable duration to them. In other words, they're designed to be stuck in here by your borrowing time from who knows where. And it's pretty obvious, the oral tradition will tell you where that is, but because it's not specified what the rhythmic value is, the tendency is often to try to execute them as quickly as is possible, which actually usually comes out meaning more quickly than is possible. So the net result is you get in trouble simply because you're busy trying to be more of a superhero or a superman or woman than you're capable of being. So it's a question of specifying how much space you need to be able to execute with ease. And once you do that, whoops. I should finish my statement. It's not a big deal, in other words, because you're executing in accordance with what makes you comfortable and makes the music, therefore, sound more persuasive. there's so many fingerings available that if you don't choose one, you're asking for trouble. Well, I'm not choosing the one they've suggested. That's interesting. Partially I am. I'd much rather not turn my hand over. Interesting. They suggest not bad. I like it. Probably Schubert. Because he wasn't a great. Well, if you think of the Erlkönig, the ultimate octave exercise. But I think the man doesn't have to be virtuoso octaves. It can play two notes. Plus one. That's a good division. Okay, and that's a very cursory investigation of the Schubert A major. More will come after we've first rehearsed.